Hello guys, I'm Tom, and today we'll explore the story of BrokenLore. Dawn Watch. There are nightmares that don't chase you, they just watch. Silently, patiently, no matter how many times you close your eyes or try to run away. If something has lodged itself in your mind, there's no turning back. BrokenLore. Dawn Watch isn't just a video game. It's a sensory experience that drags the player into the depths of psychological horror, blending a narrative rich in symbolism with an atmosphere that pushes the boundaries of perception. In this disturbing journey, we explore themes such as emotional isolation, anxiety, and that thin, sometimes imperceptible, line between what's real and what's imaginary. Through the mental descent of the protagonist, the game confronts us with the fragility of the human mind and the consequences of fleeing from our fears instead of facing them. This title is part of the expanded universe of BrokenLore, directly connected to its prequel, BrokenLore. Low. And the best part, the player's choices shape the protagonist's fate, unlocking multiple endings, including a secret one that ties into the enigmatic and sinister fictional corporation SCM Technologies, which also appears in other titles of the saga. So grab a snack, get comfortable, and join me on this descent into madness. Shinji is a young man who feels trapped, not just in his small apartment, but in a life that's slowly consuming him. Unpaid bills, a family that constantly judges him, and an anxiety that not even video games, his only refuge, can silence. One day, his routine is interrupted by an unexpected message. Yunko, a friend from the past, writes to him for the first time in years. She tells him about Jideo, a former fellow patient from the rehabilitation center where they met. Yunko is worried. She says Jideo has been sending her terrifying messages. Someone is trying to break into his house, and he fears for his life. Shinji thinks it's just another one of Jideo's pranks. But it doesn't take long before someone knocks on his door. A pizza delivery girl, cold and insistent, demands that he leave the money and go away. Strange, but not that strange. Or so it seems. During dinner, he receives a call from his mother. She humiliates him, compares him to his successful brother, and informs him they'll stop sending him money. Desperate, Shinji is filled with rage, unaware that this night will mark the beginning of the horror. Later, there's another knock at the door. This time, it's a masked man claiming to be a debt collector from the MHK channel, demanding payment for a television Shinji insists he doesn't have. Though we know that's not true. The threat is clear. If he doesn't pay, there will be consequences. Right after that, Yunko sends another message. Turn on the TV. Now. What he sees leaves him paralyzed. Jideo has been found dead, brutally decapitated. His head was never found. Yunko confesses what Jideo told her before dying, that an entity is hunting hikikomori, those who choose to isolate themselves from the world. Before she can say more, the call cuts out. Shinji begins to lose control. He looks through the peephole and sees the pizza delivery girl again. Only now, she's smiling with an expression impossible to forget. Another call from his mother hits him emotionally once again. He hangs up in anger, but the delivery girl is still there, laughing with a blood-curdling laugh. When he looks through the peephole again, he notices the hallway has changed. It's now twisted, grotesque, unnatural. The radio turns on by itself, broadcasting a program about hikikomori. It says many believe they're safe behind their screens, but they aren't. Seeking some relief, Shinji decides to take a bath. But the peace doesn't last long. From the wall emerges a massive, living eye. In a panic, he calls Yunko. She confirms his worst fear. Jideo had already gone through this, and warned him to destroy all the eyes before it was too late. And then darkness. A sudden blackout. A roar that shakes the walls. Through the peephole, Shinji sees an impossible creature. an amorphous figure covered in eyes all over its body. The Hayakum, horrified but determined, he begins to destroy every eye that appears around his apartment. But it's already too late. His home is no longer his. It has become a trap. He tries to escape through the balcony to another floor, but he discovers the impossible. He's back in his apartment, as if reality itself were collapsing in on him. And that's when the MHK collector returns, pounding on the door with inhuman fury, his face twisted with rage. He calls him a parasite, and through screams, he promises to rip off his head and devour it. For a brief moment, the darkness dissipates. The light returns just enough for Yunko to beg Shinji to destroy the eyes, and above all, not to look directly at the Jakum. But fear paralyzes him. Terror keeps him frozen as he watches the door to his apartment slowly open, as if inviting him to step out, to cross that threshold, separating confinement from a possible escape. With his heart pounding, Shinji makes a decision. He throws himself outside, convinced that if he can destroy those eyes, he might escape the nightmare. But escaping won't be easy. As he desperately tears out the eyes that invade his surroundings, the Hayakum follows closely behind. Shinji must shield his vision, for even a single glance could seal his fate. He manages to reach the elevator, but the exit is an illusion. When the doors open, he's back in his apartment. And with that return, a new game begins. Everything changes. The visual style becomes pixelated, returning to the disturbing aesthetic of previous BrokenLore low installments. We are plunged into a room surrounded by screens projecting images of lives shaped by society. Graduating, getting a job, starting a family, all those goals imposed by Japanese culture. Expectations that, just like with his older brother, slowly crushed Shinji until he completely shut himself off. That's how his isolation began. That's how he became a hikikomori. And here, the player faces a choice. If the player leaves the room without turning off the monitors, Shinji returns to his apartment. One final conversation with Yunko marks their goodbye, just before the Jakum annihilates her. It is then that Shinji realizes avoiding the monster is not enough. It must be confronted. And in their next encounter, instead of looking away, he faces it. He looks directly at it. But that decision comes at a price. The elevator opens once more, and this time, there is no escape. The Jakum beheads him. That brutal, final ending doesn't just represent his death, but also his total surrender to the expectations that crushed him. Not turning off the screens symbolizes a failure to break free. Shinji survives but hollow, empty inside, alive but without purpose. However, there is another possibility. If the player manages to turn off every monitor, Shinji returns to his apartment. There, he hears Yunko, in a desperate act, confront the Jakum. The monster slowly fades away, and for the first time, Shinji manages to leave. Though deeply disturbed, something changes. Facing the Hayakum, staring directly into the pain, transforms him. This ending is different. It's the brightest within a dark universe. Here, fear loses its power because it's confronted, and by interacting with certain objects in a specific order, a hidden door is revealed in the apartment. Behind it lies a recording from Lysium Technologies, the shadowy corporation at the center of the saga. What once seemed like a personal nightmare is revealed to be something much bigger. A mind control experiment orchestrated by a sinister entity known as Elysium, already present in earlier entries. In that recording, we hear familiar names. Naomi, the protagonist of BrokenLore Low, and her daughter, and now under direct surveillance by Elysium, with Dr. Knight leading the project. Another scientist expresses concern over the changes and is undergoing, while Dr. Knight mentions a disturbing pattern. The cycle always begins at the same time, 9:05. The very time shown on the clock in Shinji's apartment. The implication is clear. Shinji is the next test subject in the experiment, isolated with the windows covered, disconnected from reality, but with a constant feeling of being watched. Only that gaze doesn't come from outside. It comes from within, because that's where true horror lies. No matter how alone you are, the internal surveillance never shuts off. The Hyakum, whose name literally means 100 eyes, isn't just a supernatural entity. It's a manifestation of the protagonist, and maybe of the player as well. Each of the Jakum's eyes represents an emotional burden, guilt over unmet expectations, family pressure, fear of outside judgment, and the inner voice repeating, over and over, that you'll never be enough. During the game, one phrase is constantly repeated, "Don't look," a command that turns into an obsession. What is forbidden becomes inevitable, a perfect reflection of obsessive-compulsive disorder. In OCD, intrusive thoughts take over. The more you try to reject them, the stronger they become. The Jakum embodies that struggle, a creature that feeds on attention, punishes awareness, and grows with every glance. But there's an even more disturbing theory. What if the Jakum isn't a monster or a reflection of Shinji at all? What if the true observer is you? What if all of this, the game, the isolation, the nightmare, was a simulation designed to observe you? In the secret ending, this possibility takes form. It's suggested that the entire experience is a constant surveillance experiment. And who watches more than we do? The players from the other side of the screen. Elysium doesn't seek to contain anomalies like the SCP Foundation or the Federal Bureau of Control. Elysium creates them. It shapes anomalies, designs trauma, manipulates perception. They don't want to protect you from horror. They want to immerse you in it. Everything is calibrated. Every scene, every scare, every line of dialogue. As if an artificial intelligence were learning from you. As if every playthrough were a real-time emotional and cognitive experiment. Elysium's goal isn't just mind control. It's something darker. The construction of a database containing the most intimate patterns of human suffering. Because, according to their theory, intense pain can alter digital reality. And that's why they choose broken subjects. Like Naomi, scarred by abuse, or Shinji, drowned in loneliness. Vulnerable people who, without realizing it, become the bridge to another dimension of consciousness. And you, the player, are the spark that activates it all. You are the witness, the one who makes fiction real. And this concludes the full journey through the story of BrokenLore. Don't watch. A title that doesn't just play with visual and psychological horror, but constructs an experience full of symbolism, social critique, and disturbing questions about our reality. The Jakum is not just a monster. It is a mirror of the fears we refuse to face. But now, I want to hear your opinion. Did you already know the story of BrokenLore? Don't watch before this video? Do you think the Jakum is just a monster, or a metaphor speaking directly to us? And if you were Shinji, would you dare to look the monster in the eyes? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to read your theories, interpretations, and experiences with this game. As always, thank you for watching this video and sticking with me until the end. If you enjoyed this analysis, share it with someone who loves dark, complex stories like this one. And don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the new videos.